So it occurred to me that I think I haven't introduced myself in the last few episodes. So what's up, freaky people? My name is Abby. My artist name is Aeropsia. This is a special episode. It's not really going to be a podcast where I talk about like what I'm working on or anything. I'm going to talk about the tools and supplies that I use. I think I talked about this a little bit in the first episode when I was like going through all my paintings, but I didn't do it like really in depth or anything. I didn't show anything. I was just showing the paintings. So I thought we can do an episode that's just that, because who doesn't love art supplies? I've also been kind of sick for like half of July. I had an allergic reaction to a medication, and all I could do was work and then lay on the couch and then go to bed for like 2 weeks. And it was awful. It was like the flu, but like forever. Instead of like, 4 or 5 days, I was sick for 2 weeks. So that sucked. But I didn't have any energy to like make things or work on things while I was sick. So I have been working on things since I felt better, but I don't really have anything to show you that's like worth anything. So I'm gonna give myself like a couple weeks, and by then I'll have some stuff to show you. So anyways, we're gonna go through all the stuff that I use to paint. I knit, but I would not say that I'm a knitter, and I sew, but I would not say that I'm like a sewer or a sewist or whatever. I mean, I have like fabric and I have yarn and needles and all those kinds of tools that I could, I suppose, go through someday if we want to, but today we're gonna do painting. So we're gonna start by cracking open the old caboodle. This is not the caboodle that I had when I was a kid. The one that I had was like the black and white one. But this was my sibling's, and I stole it because he wasn't using it. And it's great for holding art supplies. So just open her up. And the mirror serves no purpose other than to remind me that like I'm a mess 90% of the time. But that's fine. So I guess we'll start with watercolors. And I have to tell you, I just had to buy new watercolors because I was out of like everything. And can I throw this away? What's this? This is black, so yes, I can throw this away. Well, yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna throw it away. I don't usually like to throw away supplies, but it's like, it's a little cut open, dried back together tube of watercolor because the cap broke. And if the cap breaks, then I'm just kind of fucked. So whatever, it's fine. So yeah, I just had to order a bunch of new watercolors, and I haven't tried any of them. So I can't tell you if they're any good or not, but I'm gonna guess they're fine. They're more expensive, I think, than any of the watercolors I've bought before, and they look nice, and I trust that they're gonna be fine. So most of these are Utrecht watercolors. I guess I did use the yellow, so I do know that the yellow is nice, and if the yellow is nice, then they're probably all good. I have a really simple palette normally. I just use primary colors generally, but I did get some secondaries, and I like have some secondaries that I've had for a while, and I'm trying to use them. I'm just like, I don't know. I like using primary colors and then like mixing them to create colors. So I have cadmium yellow medium. I do not like cadmium yellow dark. I do not like cadmium yellow light or dark. They're not the right color. This is like a very true yellow, and I like that. So this is my old red. You can see it's almost empty. I needed some more, so I bought a different brand this time. We'll see how much I like it. This is Jalen's, I think. Talen's? I don't know. It came in a pack. And I got this probably like 4 years ago, 5 years ago at Art Supply Depot in Toledo, Ohio. They're great if you're in the area. Great art supply store. They're also in Bowling Green, where I went to college. I still have the green and a blue from that pack because like I said, I don't really use secondary colors. And I think there were 2 blues. There were 2 reds and 2 blues, and this was the blue that I didn't like as much. This is just an ultramarine. So these came in a pack that they recommended for like beginner watercolorists. And I was buying some for my sibling for Christmas. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I've always wanted to do watercolors. I was an oil painter and I didn't know how watercolors worked. I had tried to paint with like acrylics for a little while, and that at the time didn't make sense to me. I wasn't very good at it. Now I think I'm just a better painter in general now, so I can handle acrylics a little bit better. But watercolors were like this entirely different beast. It's not like oil paint where you can cover it up over and over and over again, and like it stays wet forever, so you can like rub things off and pretend that it never happened. Watercolor is not like that. You can obviously like remove and color over things, but it's not the same. So, anywho's, I bought some for me too. And it took me about another 2 years to start using them. So, if you think that you've bought all of these art supplies and they're not going to use, just wait a few years and maybe you'll work your way around to them. So yeah, I'm almost out of Scarlet, so I got this Holbein? I'm not sure. Artist watercolor in Scarlet Lake. It looks nice. I don't know if it's gonna be nice. I'm excited about it. I really like to use a Prussian blue. This one is just a Winsor & Newton. I got it at Michael's, I'm sure. Prussian blue is kind of like a navy-ish, and that's why I really like it. I don't necessarily want like a blue usually. This ultramarine blue, is that what it is? Yeah, ultramarine would be like a really blue, which is what I would have liked in the past because I like to, I don't know, just have a very, very neutral, it's not like the right word. Basic, we'll just say basic. I like to have a very basic color palette, and then you can just make whatever color you want from that. But I found out that I really liked Prussian blue, so I switched. I also have white. This one, again, is just Winsor & Newton. This is the Chinese white, and I ordered a titanium white from Utrecht to replace this, because this is also almost gone, and like, well, I don't know. I haven't been using as much white lately. They've been less pastel than normal, which is fine, but I do love pastel colors. So, gotta have white, even though it's watercolor, and obviously you're thinning it down with water, but the way that I paint, like I need white. I just add paint on top of paint and water on top of water. And so white is a necessity. Then, got a new black. Black is also pretty necessary. I ran out of black a while ago and I didn't realize it, so I was stuck using black ink, and that does not work the same. This is just an ivory black. This one's also Utrecht. And you gotta have a brown or two. So I have a burnt sienna and a raw umber. One of them, burnt sienna, is a little more of a reddish brown, and then the other one is a little more browny brown. I love brown. I love like every shade of brown that there is in existence, and I think if there's a perfect color, it's brown. For secondary colors, I have an alizarin orange. It is an Academy watercolor, and I've probably had this since I was like 9. and it's still good, so I haven't thrown it away. I'm not really sure when I'm gonna use an orange, but I have it just in case. Then I have this green. This one just says it's a deep green. I don't know what deep green means. I've never heard of a deep green before, but I have it, it's here. I've used it a little bit, so yeah, we'll see. Then I just bought this lilac purple that I'm super excited to use because I always end up making a lot of purples when I paint. I end up with lilac a whole lot. So I was just like, well, I'll see if I can find a lilac that I like. And this is again, Holbein Artist Watercolors W317. The other one, the Scarlet Lake, was W222. I don't think I have to say this. I don't think I should have to say this. It's pretty obvious right now. I have 0 subscribers, but this is not sponsored. Nobody sent me any of this for free. I had to work my butt off to buy all of it or find it. Or I guess some of it I've just had for a million years. This is the most disgusting kneadable eraser you've probably ever seen in your life. I'll show you. See the hairs on it? Yeah, I don't know if you can see all the fuzzies. It's disgusting because I don't draw. So I have 0 need for a kneadable eraser. Good as new. Then over here we have this massive piece of graphite. It's a Lyra. I think that's how you pronounce it. It could be Lyra, I suppose, but I've always thought it was Lyra. They make great pencils. And I found this at Dick Blick and I was like, ah! Even though I have like never used graphite. I like graphite in paintings, but I've never done it. But I saw it and it's just such a big chunk. I couldn't resist, and I have used it and I do love it. So yeah, 100% recommend. I have these new pastels. I have a purple, a pink, and like a bluish, greenish. I think it's green. Yeah, that looks more green. And these are chalk pastels, but they're like really buttery. I really love the texture. I was in Dick Blick and I was testing it and I was like, ooh, that's like the nicest texture. Whew. So I had to buy them. And even though I already had pastels and I haven't gone through them, but that's okay because I didn't buy those ones. But this is a pastel à la queue. Sennelier. Never took French, so probably not pronouncing that correctly. Don't see colors written on these. I also have some Conti crayons. I have brown, white, black. They're great. Nothing else to say. They're pretty standard. And if you draw, use pastels, charcoal, whatever, they're great. They have like a harder quality than like regular chalk pastels. Then we have these random chalk pastels that I found in my dad's garage years ago that someone who lived there before us had left. They're just great. They're just standard pastels. I have a bag full of more of them. Mostly, I think it's all like the same colors. I really think there's a purple in here. I should probably take that out so I can use it. So I'm kind of set for pastels for a long time. But I bought those other ones because I just couldn't help it. And also, like, I don't have really pastel colored pastels. I have like pretty saturated pastels, which is good, but I do like pastel colored pastels. Yeah, I'm gonna stop saying pastel, so sorry about that. And so that's all for the drawing up there. Then I have a little pipette, and I use this for dropping alcohol, usually. onto specific spots. And then on the next layer, this one I don't use the stuff in here very much. It's charcoal blender. I do keep my palette scrapers in this tier and extra razor blades. So that's that. And then in the bottom, like I said, we have the extra pastels. I have some liquid Brisket drawing gum dupe. Doesn't matter what brand this is. None of these brands matter as far as I'm concerned. You can use whatever art supplies you have access to, and if you can make good art, the supplies don't matter. This is just what I currently have, and it will probably change because I usually just buy whatever is available or whatever is cheapest or whatever just jumps out at me. But this one is Pebo? I don't know. Drawing gum. It's great. You can mask with it for watercolors. You can mask with it for anything, I suppose. And then I do have my oil paints in here, but I'm not going to go through those with you because I have not painted in oils for like years at this point. I don't paint with oils right now. Down here I also have my inks, and most of these are like Bombay, Dr. P.H. Martin's, just like you can get them at any craft store. I have an iridescent green. I have copper. I have an iridescent blue. And I will say the blue and the green I have not used very much. Just a little bit. I have the iridescent white though, which is amazing. I love this thing. I use this almost as much as I use just like the regular white watercolor. It's great. I should have gold in the P.H. Martin's because I think it's a water-based and that's why I like it. I don't know, I could be lying. I don't know anything about ink. And I also have brown, white, and black, just ink, Bombay inks. I have these new ones, which are acrylic, and I did not notice, this one's acrylic. Maybe this one's not, nope, that one's acrylic too. So yeah, I didn't notice that they were acrylic when I bought them, and they do have like a different quality than the Bombay inks, which I'm not super into. But I have them, so I'm going to use them until they're gone. But I have a gold, this iridescent green, that's really nice, and then like an iridescent pink, which is really pretty. They're Daler Rowney inks, and they are acrylic, and they're okay. I just do prefer the Bombay inks, actually. Just the way they move, I don't know, I like it better. So that's probably all the exciting stuff. All of the colors and tubes and goodies. Next, we have gesso. It's just an acrylic gesso. This was just like the cheapest one that they had at Michael's at the time. And I do regret buying the cheapest one, actually, of this gesso. I didn't think it would matter. Normally it doesn't. It's not as thick, I think, as like higher grade gessos. So I won't buy that again. I will actually buy a nicer one. But whatever, it's gesso. It does gesso's job. That's all I ask of it. Except that's a lie because I do paint with it. So the way that I paint, sometimes things can get a little too lost, a little muddy, or more often I just need to like carve out a space where I'm going to paint something, but there's already paint there. So I need it to be white again, and I need to like mask it off, which is what I'm gonna have to do with this face. up here that you guys can't see actually. Anyway, it's the face that I messed up last time that I told you about. Her face is just too dark, and you can't add more color when it's just so brown. And I'm not brown, and it is technically sort of a self-portrait, so gotta fix that. And gesso is how I'm gonna do that. We'll do utensils. So I take the worst care of my brushes historically. So I do not spend money on brushes. Not good money. I try to take care of them. I am better now than I used to be. And it's better even still now because I use watercolors and they just damage the brushes a lot less than like oil paints. Because it's just water soluble and you just go like, get some soap and water, wash it off, it's good, it's done. I don't spend any amount of real money on brushes. This is a stick. It's not even a brush anymore. These all came from various like $10 packs that you can get at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever. And I have bought probably a lot of those $10 packs over the years because I just destroy brushes like fucking crazy. These are all small brushes. I don't usually use small brushes very much anymore. They don't do much that I need them to do. I need like one small brush, and it's like this one. And it's like one that's not destroyed right now. And then I have like these guys, which are pretty crunchy and gross, but not as crunchy and gross as this one. Let's show you. It's just, it's not a brush anymore. It's just, maybe I use it for like, for a skit or I don't know. I just have it. Yeah. I don't need expensive brushes. I will just ruin them. And then these ones that I was telling you about, these also just came in like some kind of pack. I think they were at an art supply store. I just bought a new palette knife. Super excited. This was just a cheap one that came in a pack of like 10 that I bought, I don't know, forever ago. It's not as bad as I thought it was. I've used it to like pry up staples when I was like stretching canvases and stuff like that. It's just, I think it comes out of the handle too. So yeah, so I finally bought a new one and it's pretty nice. It's like pretty sturdy. I'm excited about it, even though I don't really use them anymore because I used it more for like mixing oil paints. I don't even know if it would be very good for that because it's not super springy. Whatever. It was big and I thought it looked nice. Oh, I have two in here. That's what it is. This one's worse. I don't think you can see it, but it's like super warped on the edge. And obviously it's got tons of paint stuck to it. Can't really get it clean because it's got like these ridges that are from me using it to pry things up when I shouldn't have. This is a spatula from my kitchen. I use it for like gesso usually, making texture and stuff like that. I could use it for paint if I ever needed that big of a glob of paint, but this is gesso that's on it. That's what I've used it for. These are the brushes that I really use, and these ones are just brushes for like painting your house, your walls, your trim. I got at the hardware store. They are just some synthetic whatever. They work great with watercolors. Just move a lot of color around, move a lot of water around. They come in multiple inches, probably cost like 10 bucks. This is my all-time favorite brush. It's a 5-inch house painting brush. Paint your house with it. And it's great. It's really springy. It's great for watercolors. It's great for moving stuff around. It is textured, so it does add some texture to things. I think I need to wash it. It's very forgiving. I've used it for oil painting also, but yeah, it's easy to wash. It holds up to a lot of abuse. It doesn't like lose bristles all over the place all the time. Yeah, I love it. Then these two are some nicer brushes that Ian bought us on a whim one day when he went out to get some paints. He saw these and he was like, oh, I'll get those. And they're very cool. And they also need to be washed, it looks like. But they're nice and big. This one's like a big moppy kind of brush. It rattles around a little bit, but it doesn't lose bristles or anything. So it's nice. I don't know what it is. You got it at Michael's. This one says Royal and Langnickel Jumbo Firm 70. Oh, here we go. This one's a 50. Also firm. And this one, I should have been nicer too. It's a little warped now, but it's okay. Doesn't really matter. And they're really soft. This one's like super soft and springy, and I love it. I don't pay attention to whether a brush is for any kind of paint. Like they always have them sectioned off into like watercolor brushes and oil brushes and acrylic brushes, and I have never paid any attention to that. I don't think it matters. You can try to convince me otherwise. I'm not gonna believe you. This is a straw. It's like a metal reusable straw that I got on Amazon. I do use them actually for like smoothies and stuff. But this one I stole for painting. It's for when I do bubbles. So that's another supply. Bubbles. I have had these and a giant jug of bubbles forever because you should just always have bubbles around, in my opinion. Not just because bubbles are great and everybody loves them. I went right in my water. Yeah, bubbles are great. If you don't have bubbles, you should have bubbles. I also have a bubble machine, which is lots of fun. It does like make the area in front of it, like on the floor, it gets really wet because there's a bunch of bubbles popping on the floor, but it's cool. I put bubbles in and then I mix them with paint and then I blow and just kind of like let them fall onto the painting. Sometimes I'll like actually blow bubbles. That works too. It just depends on what I'm doing. Then we have rubbing alcohol. That is absolutely essential. I just dump it on the painting sometimes and like let it splatter really big splatters. Like I said, I use that pipette and I drop it on there sometimes. And then I also have a spray bottle that I put alcohol in and I can spritz it on the painting. And so all of those create different like patterns and things that I love. It looks like tie-dye watercolor. It's great. We have some salt. And that I usually sprinkle around like the edges of things when I want them to be like really chunky and crispy. And it just kind of like disperses the color in a really neat way, kind of pixelated. And I like that a whole lot. Masking tape. This one is not thick enough. I need to get one that's like an inch thick at least. I'm trying to like triple it up on this painting, but I think it's just not gonna work. So I need the thick one. I use it to mask off areas and then I use it to paint. And then we have my pickle jar. And this is what I keep water in. And it's for getting my brushes wet or just dumping on the painting, whatever. It's my water cup. Does not need to be Vlasic. You can use any brand you would like for your jar. I tend to think bigger is better for these kinds of things. This is Fixer, Final Fixer. This one's matte. I don't know that I really like matte. I don't know. Maybe I need gloss or a pearlescent or something. I don't know. I feel like matte's a little too matte because I do have like lots of sparkles and shimmers and shiny things in my paintings. So I'm not married to the matte, but I do need to use it because I use pastels, and if I don't, then the pastels will just like rub off. Finally, your towel. You always gotta have your towel. This one needs to be washed pretty desperately right now. But yeah, I just use it to dry off my brushes and to like lay them down somewhere when they're wet. I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it for art supplies. That's what I use. That's what I like. Brands don't matter. Buy what you can afford, buy what's available to you, buy what you like, make some shit. Sorry for the wardrobe change and whatever. I forgot one of the most important tools, supplies, whatever that I have, and that's my palette. This is just a picture frame with a glass cover, pane, whatever. So yeah, it's just a frame, it holds the glass, and then I can put my paint on it, I can scrape it off. This is the one that I used for watercolors, it's smaller. And then this is the one that I use for oil paints. I could use either one for either kind of paint, it doesn't really matter. Same thing, glass, picture frame, and it's great for a palette. You can scrape it, it's in the frame pretty good, so it's not like going all over the place. You can put a piece of paper underneath it if you want to have like a white background. And they're easy to get, they're cheap. I think this big one probably cost me like $25 maybe at Michael's or whatever craft store. I've seen people use lots of different things like microwave plates and window panes. These are easier to get, I think. I've broken a big one like that and I just had to go and buy a new one. I didn't have to like find a microwave that didn't need its plate anymore or like a window that had been removed. It was just, they're easy to find. So that's that. Second thing is the canvases that I use. I forgot to mention those. They are from Michael's. They are I think the level 3 professional series that they have. They come in like lots of different sizes. They're really nice. Except for this one. This is like the worst one that I've ever gotten. Something's wrong with the stretcher bar. And it's like bent. It didn't get knocked into place correctly when they built it. And I didn't realize it until after I'd started painting. Other than that, I haven't had any issues with these canvases. They are pretty affordable. You can buy them in 6-packs also, which is pretty cool. And so if you buy them in bulk, obviously, they're more affordable. They do have a giant one, I think that's like 5 feet by something that they sell. I have not been able to get that one. So if I do want to do something bigger, like usually I get the 30 by 40 maybe, and then like the 24 by 48 sizes, which are pretty good. They're pretty good size, but I do want something bigger, so I'm gonna have to build that myself, I'm sure, which is fine, I guess. It's annoying. I don't like building canvases. It's not really that fun for me. Don't have like a bunch of tools or like a garage or anything where I can do things like that. I live in an apartment, so it's not really practical for me to build my own canvases, so I buy them. And that's fine. I think they look fine. Thanks for watching. See you later.